But you said something very important. So the 60% should not be spending your demand gen dollar. The tendency that you often have is to think in binary terms. Right? There's this first marketing does something, sales takes over, or you're in market and all of a sudden, or you're out of market, all of a sudden you're in market. You just explained there's a spectrum in between and everything. So the knee jerk might be, and we saw that happen over the last couple of years, that people take those numbers on face value. They say, okay, there's a portion in and out of market, and I'm going to spend my demand gen budget in function of those numbers. We're not saying that you should not be doing any marketing when to customers that are not in market, aren't we?
Yeah.
But that's not what we're saying. But it's a different type of marketing that you need to do, right?
And we'll talk about why that's so important. So one of the other key findings from this year's study, we saw glimpses of it in last year's. We dug into it more this year. And it's confirming things that have been in other studies, Bain and others. Buyers put, on average, they're going to evaluate about 5 vendors. They put 4 of them on a day one shortlist. So we literally asked, how many vendors did you put on the shortlist on day one of your journey? That's the question we asked. The answer comes 4. How many vendors did you evaluate? 5, right? So if you're not on the day one shortlist, you're almost certainly not going to get a deal, because buyers buy from the shortlist, day one shortlist, 95% of the time. So again, we have that finding in our study. It's corroborated in a bunch of other research that's available also. So super solid data on that. So what that tells us is you have to be doing a very good job of marketing to the accounts that are not in market now, but the marketing that you're doing to them has to be different. And then we'll talk, I think, in a little bit about one of the other really key findings about your buyers and why they can put 4 of the 5 vendors on that short list. But your buyers are, if they're not in market right now, they're probably not going to engage really deeply with functional content that you have, and they're not looking at pricing and those kinds of things. That's not what's on their mind, but they want to keep up, and they want to understand what's happening in the marketplace as part of their job. And if you're not influencing them when they're not in market, you have you run the risk of not getting on that day one shortlist. So it's really important. But if you've got goals attached to your demand gen dollars of producing pipeline and revenue, you're not going to get it in the same fiscal year, primarily from the folks that are not in market yet.
Yeah. Even if you know all of this, and you need to think about as a marketing leader or CMO on how to organize even your marketing team, the knee-jerk could also be, okay, if this part of my marketing mix is not really helping drive immediate demand that I can convert and measure in all my systems, that you then create, that you say, okay, we're going to focus again on more on my brand and my reputation, but that you put a bunch of people on that job and you put them in the traditional Marcom team far away from where the demand gen is happening and where the go-to-market strategies are being defined. There is a danger if, on one hand, we're saying you should go back and focus on thought leadership content without expecting an immediate outcome, let alone a conversion, because that's not what. But there is a danger if you put those guys far away from GTM discussions that they're also living on an island. So.
Right, and I think it's really important that you kind of alluded to this a little bit ago, and I made up a term earlier this year called the semi-permeable membrane. That's between in market and out of market. So as you were kind of alluding to, the line between being in market and out of market. It seems like it's a sharp line. It is not. And I think everybody who's been involved in a purchase, in their career, has been around for a while, understands that a lot of times you'll get a legitimate process. You think, okay, we're going to go buy a new solution of this type, and you go out and market and you do it for a little bit, and then budget goes away, somebody goes away, something happens, and then you're not in market anymore. Priorities change, and that happens. And then 6 months later, you're back in market, and then you're out, and then you're in. So that's happening all the time. And every time a buyer goes into market for a little while and they do some research, you're changing their mind, they're being influenced, but you may never see it. And you're certainly not talking to them. Your sales reps are not talking to them about it. So it's happening all the time. They're coming in and out of market, and really, really important decisions get made the minute they do. But then those decisions go away because the buying process goes away, and then it starts up again another time.